Max Montgomery, a titan of the tech industry, sat at a table in Luciel, his daughter's favorite restaurant. At 45, he personified success, his face etched with lines that, to many, signified the weight of billion-dollar decisions, but to him, they were a map of irreparable loss. His chiseled jaw and piercing blue eyes, capable of intimidating even the most confident executives, were now fixed on Emily, who idly traced patterns in her untouched risotto. 5 years earlier, Max's life had been turned upside down when his wife Lisa died in a tragic car accident on a rain-soaked highway. The police had called it a tragedy, a slick road, a sharp turn, a moment of fate. But the truth was, for Max, acceptance was never complete, just an escape into the labyrinth of work, the relentless pursuit of more, filling the void she left behind. He had built Montgomery Enterprises from a single software startup in a cramped garage to a global tech empire worth billions, and his name was Woe, synonymous with innovation, his face plastered on magazine covers, his wealth a fortress that shielded him from the world's chaos. Emily, now 16, was a mirror of her mother, with Lisa's chestnut hair and wide hazel eyes, but also a quiet strength that Max couldn't quite fully grasp. This dinner, meant to be a moment of connection, felt more like an obligation on his packed schedule, a unilateral effort to bridge a growing chasm between them. The silence at the table was broken only by the discreet whispers of other patrons, a painful contrast to the vibrancy Lisa brought to any room. Max tried to initiate conversation about Emily's upcoming violin recital, about her new English teacher, but her responses were clipped, polite, and distant. He found himself about to ask about her friends, a futile attempt to find common ground, when Emily stunned him with a sentence that resonated like thunder in his chest, a question that unearthed a pain he thought he had buried too deep. "Dad, what if the tragic death of your wife wasn't an accident, but a calculated move to destroy you?" Emily's words hit Max with the force of a physical blow, freezing his hand mid-gesture, his wine glass hovering in the air. He set it down carefully, his mind racing in a spiral of confusion and dread. He wanted to ask what she meant, why she had said it, but his throat tightened, choked by a mixture of shock and something darker, a chilling premonition that began to form. Emily's eyes were fixed on her plate, but he could see the tears welling, her jaw set in that stubborn way she'd inherited from him. He started, his voice softer than he intended, laden with a vulnerability he rarely allowed himself. "I know it's been hard without Mom. I'm trying." Emily cut him off, her voice now sharp like a blade, slicing through his excuses and exposing a brutal truth. "It's not about you trying," she said. "It's about her not being here. I don't even remember her voice anymore, Dad. I have to watch old videos just to hear her laugh, and you're never around to talk about her." Emily's accusation echoed within Max like a punch, dismantling years of self-conviction. He wanted to argue, to list the sacrifices he'd made, the late nights, the deals closed to secure her future. But her words, so raw and honest, laid bare a truth he'd been avoiding. He'd been running from Lisa's memory, and in doing so, he'd left Emily to grieve alone. That night, back in the sprawling Manhattan penthouse, Max couldn't sleep. Emily's words replayed on a loop, each repetition tightening the knot in his chest. He wandered into his study, a room lined with awards and photos of a life that felt increasingly hollow. On the desk was a framed picture of Lisa, her smile radiant, her arms wrapped around a younger Emily. Max traced the frame with his finger, the ache of loss sharper than it had been in years. He knew he needed to do something, not just for Emily, but for himself. He needed to bring Lisa back, not in body, but in memory. He needed to give Emily the mother she was missing, even if it was just through stories, moments, truths. He decided to start where Lisa's life had ended, with the accident. The next morning, Max canceled all his meetings, a first in years of his relentless career. He didn't know what he was looking for, but he felt a feverish urgency in his soul. His first call was to Tom Harper, his private investigator, a former detective with a knack for uncovering what others wanted hidden. Max tasked him with pulling every record related to Lisa's accident, police reports, autopsy files, witness statements. While Tom worked, Max turned to Lisa's belongings, stored in a locked closet he hadn't opened since her death. Inside were boxes of her things, journals, letters, a scarf that still held the faint scent of her perfume. He sat on the floor, surrounded by fragments of her life, and began to read. Lisa's journals were a window into a woman he thought he'd known completely. She wrote about her love for him, her fears for Emily's future, her dreams of starting a charity. But there were also entries that unsettled him, vague mentions of someone watching, a feeling uneasy in the months before her death. Max's phone buzzed. It was Tom. "You're not going to like this," he said, his voice grim. "The police reports are clean, but there's something off. The skid marks at the scene don't match the official story. They suggest another car was involved, but the report doesn't mention it." A cold knot formed in Max's stomach. "And the lead investigator," Tom continued, his voice dropping. "He retired 6 months after the case, bought a beach house in Malibu. Cash." Max's pulse quickened. "What are you saying?" he demanded, his voice barely a whisper. "I'm saying someone buried something. I need more time." Max hung up, his mind spiraling. An accident was one thing, tragic but random. But the idea that someone had orchestrated Lisa's death, it was unthinkable. Yet the pieces were starting to align. Lisa's unease, the inconsistencies in the report, the investigator's sudden wealth. Max felt a chill. If this was true, who was responsible and why? He threw himself into the search, combing through Lisa's emails and old phone records. He found a name that kept appearing: Daniel Kessler. Kessler was a former business partner, a brilliant coder who'd helped Max build Montgomery Enterprises in its early days. They'd parted ways bitterly when Max bought him out, accusing Kessler of trying to sabotage a deal. Kessler had vanished from the industry after that, but Lisa's emails mentioned meeting him for coffee months before her death. She'd written it off as a chance encounter, but Max's gut told him otherwise. He tracked Kessler down to a rundown apartment in Brooklyn. When Max confronted him, Kessler's eyes were bloodshot, his hands trembling. "I didn't want to hurt her," Kessler stammered, his voice breaking. "But they made me. They said they'd ruin me if I didn't help," Max demanded, grabbing Kessler's collar. "Who?" Kessler's voice dropped to a whisper. "You're bored. They wanted you distracted, Max. Lisa's death was collateral damage." Max's world tilted. His board, his trusted inner circle, had betrayed him. He drove back to Manhattan in a haze, his mind piecing together a horrifying conspiracy he'd been too blind to see. Montgomery Enterprises had been on the verge of a massive IPO when Lisa died. The deal had nearly collapsed because of Max's grief, but it had ultimately made the board richer than ever. Had they orchestrated her death to keep him off balance, to ensure he didn't scrutinize the deal too closely? The thought was a poisoned dart, striking at the very core of his identity. He confronted his CFO, Vanessa Reed, in her sleek corner office. Vanessa had been with him from the start, a ruthless strategist who'd always pushed for aggressive expansion. Her composure, usually unshakable, seemed to flicker for a fraction of a second when he entered. "Tell me it's not true," Max said, his voice low and dangerously controlled, the words laced with a fury he barely managed to contain. Vanessa's face was unreadable. "You're chasing ghosts, Max. Lisa's death was an accident. Let it go." But Max couldn't let it go. The scent of betrayal was too strong, too suffocating. He hired a forensic accountant to audit the company's books from the time of the IPO. The findings were damning. Millions had been funneled into offshore accounts, with payments traced to a shell company linked to Vanessa. And then came the most chilling twist. A burner phone found hidden in a secret compartment within Vanessa's office desk contained texts to an unknown number. One of them read, stark and brutally clear, "The wife's gone, he's broken, proceed." Max felt the ground give way beneath him. Vanessa hadn't just known about Lisa's death. She had planned it. But why? The question screamed in his mind, a deafening echo in the silence of his office. The cold, calculating precision of the act, the way his grief had been weaponized, left him reeling. He felt a profound sense of foolishness, a naivete that had cost him everything. He, the shrewd billionaire, had been a pawn in a game he didn't even know he was playing. As he dug deeper, the motive became horrifically clear. Vanessa had been siphoning funds from the company for years, a vast web of embezzlement hidden beneath layers of complex transactions. The IPO, that monumental achievement, had been her grand scheme to cover her tracks, a financial smokescreen designed to obscure her illicit activities. Lisa, ever perceptive, with an intuitive knack for numbers and a sharp mind honed by years of managing their personal finances, had started asking questions about discrepancies she'd noticed in Max's financial reports, small inconsistencies that Vanessa couldn't explain away. Lisa's curiosity, her innocent inquiries, had inadvertently made her a threat. Vanessa couldn't risk exposure, couldn't risk her carefully constructed empire of lies crumbling, so she'd eliminated the threat. The realization was a gut punch. Lisa hadn't been collateral damage in a board power play, as Kessler had implied. She had been the direct target, eliminated for the simple reason that she was too close to uncovering the truth. The rage that consumed Max was a primal force, unlike anything he had ever known. Max's confrontation with Vanessa was explosive. A scene played out not in the quiet sanctity of her office, but in the sterile, imposing environment of the boardroom, under the gaze of a shaken board that had no idea what was about to unfold. He laid out the evidence with chilling precision, the meticulously audited bank records revealing the offshore accounts, the damning texts from the burner phone, and finally, Kessler's tearful recorded testimony, played for all to hear. Vanessa tried to deny it, her practiced facade of calm finally cracking under the weight of irrefutable proof. Her eyes, usually sharp and calculating, darted nervously, her composure crumbling into a mask of thinly veiled panic. "You killed her," Max said, his voice shaking with a raw, guttural rage that barely resembled his usual controlled tone. "You took her from us." Vanessa's eyes hardened then, a flicker of defiance replacing the panic, her true, monstrous nature finally revealed. "You built an empire, Max," she sneered, her voice devoid of remorse. "But you never saw the cost. Lisa was collateral damage. You should have stayed out of it." Her words, uttered with such cold calculation, were a final, brutal confirmation of her guilt and her utter lack of humanity. Before she could say more, security, who had been discreetly waiting, escorted her out of the boardroom, her protests fading as she was led away. But the victory felt hollow. Lisa was still gone, and Emily was still hurting. The justice he had fought so hard for felt insufficient, a cold comfort in the face of such profound loss. Max knew he couldn't undo the past, the horrific events that had shattered their lives, but he could change the future. He could ensure that Lisa's death and the pain it caused would not be in vain. He understood then that his relentless pursuit of wealth and power had blinded him to the most important things in life, a lesson learned at an unbearable cost. Max stepped back from Montgomery Enterprises, a decision that sent shockwaves through the industry, but brought him a profound sense of relief. He appointed a new CEO, a man of integrity known for his ethical leadership, and restructured the board to ensure complete transparency, eradicating the shadows that had allowed Vanessa's betrayal to fester. The company would survive. His legacy as a business innovator was secure, but his priority had irrevocably shifted to Emily. He took her to the secluded beach house in Montauk, a place Lisa had cherished, a sanctuary where her laughter still seemed to echo in the salty air. They spent days walking the shore, the rhythmic crash of the waves a soothing backdrop to their conversations about Lisa. Max, for the first time, truly opened up, sharing stories he'd buried deep within himself, her infectious laugh, her endearing quirks, her simple dreams that had been overshadowed by his ambition. He told Emily about how Lisa used to sing off-key in the shower, her voice a joyful cacophony that always made him smile, and how she'd sneak extra cookies into Emily's lunchbox, a secret act of love that always brought a mischievous twinkle to Lisa's eyes. For the first time in years, Emily smiled without reservation, a genuine, unburdened smile that reached her eyes, softening the edges of her grief as she felt her mother's presence through her father's words. It was a connection that transcended the physical, a rebuilding of memory that healed them both. Max also started a foundation in Lisa's name, dedicating substantial resources to funding education and mental health programs, specifically for single-parent families. It was his way of honoring her, of transforming his excruciating pain into something meaningful, something that would bring hope and support to others who face similar struggles. Emily became deeply involved in the foundation, her quiet strength finding a powerful new outlet. Her passion for music, which had always been a solitary pursuit, found a new purpose as she helped design outreach programs that used artistic expression as a therapeutic tool for children coping with loss. The foundation became a living tribute to Lisa, a testament to her spirit of compassion and her quiet strength, and in its growth, Max and Emily found a shared purpose that bound them together more tightly than ever before. It was a tangible manifestation of their healing, a way to channel their sorrow into a force for good, a beacon of hope for families navigating the darkest valleys of grief. This shared endeavor transformed their relationship, moving it beyond obligation and into a space of profound connection, built on shared memories and a mutual commitment to honoring Lisa's legacy. One evening, as they watched the sunset paint the sky in fiery hues over the Montauk coastline, Emily took Max's hand, her small gesture a powerful affirmation of their renewed bond. "I miss her," she said, her voice steady now, no longer laced with the raw pain of a child abandoned by grief, but with a quiet understanding of enduring love. "But I'm glad I have you." Max's throat tightened, a lump forming as he struggled to contain the overwhelming surge of emotion that swelled within him. "I'm not going anywhere, Em," he whispered, his voice thick with unshed tears, his grip on her hand firm and unwavering. Not anymore. The conspiracy was behind them. Vanessa was facing trial for her heinous crimes, and the truth, though painful, had set Max free in a way he hadn't expected. He had spent years building an empire, a monument to ambition and success, but the real legacy was here, in the quiet moments with his daughter, in the love they were rebuilding, piece by painful piece. The cost of his success had been steep, a price paid in unimaginable grief and shattered trust, but the time he had left with Emily was priceless, a treasure he now guarded above all else. As the waves crashed against the shore, a timeless rhythm of continuity and change, Max felt Lisa's presence not as a haunting ghost of what was lost, but as a comforting reminder of what truly mattered most. She was there in Emily's smile, in the strength of her touch, in the shared commitment to their new purpose. He wasn't just a billionaire or a CEO anymore. He was a father, and for the first time in years, that was enough. It was more than enough. It was everything. He finally understood that true wealth wasn't measured in billions or market shares, but in the depth of human connection, in the quiet strength of family, and in the enduring power of love that transcends even death. The trials that followed Vanessa Reed's arrest captivated the nation, revealing the ruthless depths of corporate greed and the insidious nature of betrayal. Max, despite the intense media scrutiny, testified with unwavering composure, his voice a steady testament to the truth. His testimony, coupled with Daniel Kessler's detailed confession and the irrefutable forensic evidence, painted a damning picture of Vanessa's calculated plot. The public, initially fascinated by the billionaire's personal tragedy, soon turned their attention to the broader implications of the case, raising questions about accountability in the upper echelons of power. Max used this platform not for vengeance but for advocacy, speaking passionately about the need for corporate ethics and transparency, transforming his personal ordeal into a call for systemic change. He understood that while justice for Lisa was paramount, preventing similar tragedies was an equally vital part of her legacy. The legal battles stretched for months, a grueling process that tested Max's resolve. But each step closer to a verdict felt like another brick in the wall he was building around his heart, replacing the crumbling structure of his past. Vanessa's defense team, aggressive and unyielding, attempted to discredit Max's character and paint Kessler as an unreliable witness, but their efforts were ultimately futile against the weight of the evidence. The media circus surrounding the trial was relentless, with every detail of Max's private life scrutinized, every emotional nuance dissected. Yet through it all, Emily remained his steadfast anchor. She attended every day of the trial, sitting quietly by his side, her presence a silent declaration of solidarity and support. Her gaze, steady and filled with a newfound maturity, reminded him why he was fighting, why he had to see this through to the very end. The verdict finally came down, guilty on all counts. Vanessa Reed was sentenced to a long term in prison, a consequence that, while severe, could never truly compensate for the life she had taken and the grief she had inflicted. For Max, it wasn't about the severity of the sentence, but the affirmation of truth, the public acknowledgement of Lisa's unjust death. The legal closure brought a fragile sense of peace, a chapter finally closing, allowing them to truly begin the long process of healing. He held Emily close, outside the courthouse, shielding her from the flashing cameras, and in that embrace, he felt the weight of years of unspoken grief begin to lift. The conspiracy, the betrayal, the lies, all of it was finally behind them, an ugly scar on their past, but a reminder of the strength they had found in confronting it. With the legal battle concluded, Max fully immersed himself in the foundation dedicated to Lisa. He leveraged his vast network and resources, transforming it from a burgeoning initiative into a powerful force for good. The Lisa Montgomery Hope Foundation became a beacon for single-parent families, offering comprehensive support ranging from educational scholarships to grief counseling and mental wellness programs. Max, once defined by his corporate acumen, found a new purpose in philanthropy, his business instincts now channeled towards social impact. He personally oversaw the strategic growth of the foundation, ensuring its reach extended to communities in need, not just across the nation but globally. His efforts were not merely about atonement, they were about transformation, about turning a profound personal tragedy into a legacy of compassion and tangible change for countless lives. Emily, having found her voice and purpose, became an integral part of the foundation's public outreach. Her violin, once a private solace, now became a tool for healing. She organized and performed at charity concerts, her poignant melodies weaving stories of resilience and hope. That resonated deeply with audiences. She spoke eloquently at conferences, sharing her own journey of grief and recovery, inspiring countless young people to embrace their emotions and seek support. Her quiet strength, once a barrier, blossomed into a powerful source of empathy and connection. Through the foundation, Emily not only honored her mother's memory, but also discovered her own unique path, merging her love for music with a burgeoning passion for advocacy. She was no longer just the grieving daughter. She was a leader, a voice for those who felt unheard, a testament to the enduring power of human spirit. Their bond, once frayed by unspoken pain and Max's relentless ambition, was now unbreakable, forged in the fires of shared grief and mutual purpose. They found solace in the simple routines of life, in shared meals at home, in long walks by the beach, and in the quiet evenings spent discussing the foundation's impact. The sprawling Manhattan penthouse, once a sterile symbol of Max's detached success, slowly began to feel like a true home, filled with laughter, conversation, and the echoes of Lisa's spirit. Max learned to be present, truly present, in a way he never had before. He listened more, spoke less, and understood that the greatest riches weren't found in boardrooms or financial statements, but in the tender, everyday moments he shared with his daughter. He realized that the deepest love was not about grand gestures, but about consistent, unwavering presence. The world continued to spin, but for Max and Emily, the rhythm of their lives had fundamentally shifted. The relentless pursuit of corporate dominance had been replaced by a quiet dedication to healing and helping. Max, no longer defined by his immense wealth or his past achievements, found a profound sense of fulfillment in the foundation's work. He saw Lisa's reflection not just in Emily, but in every child they helped, every family they supported. The pain of her loss remained a deep, persistent ache, but it was now interwoven with threads of gratitude, purpose, and enduring love. He had faced the darkest aspects of human nature and emerged not unscathed, but stronger, wiser, and profoundly changed. His journey from a haunted billionaire to a compassionate father and philanthropist was a testament to the transformative power of grief when channeled into meaningful action. One particularly poignant moment occurred during a foundation event, a quiet gathering for families who had lost loved ones. Emily performed a new piece she had composed, a hauntingly beautiful melody on her violin that conveyed both sorrow and an enduring sense of peace. As the final notes faded, a mother in the audience, tears streaming down her face, approached Emily and Max. She thanked them profusely, explaining how the Foundation's counseling services had helped her navigate the agonizing first year after losing her husband. Her words, raw and sincere, resonated deeply with Max, reminding him of the solitary grief he had once carried and the immense relief of finding a path through it. It was in these personal connections, these shared moments of vulnerability and hope, that Max truly felt Lisa's presence, not as a phantom, but as a living force for good, channeled through their collective efforts. Max found himself increasingly involved in direct mentorship through the Foundation, connecting with other single parents who were struggling to balance their careers with the daunting task of raising children alone. He shared his own mistakes, his initial tendency to bury himself in work, and emphasized the critical importance of emotional presence over material provision. His personal narrative, once a tale of corporate ambition, now became a powerful testament to the value of human connection and the quiet strength found in vulnerability. These interactions were deeply cathartic for him, allowing him to process his own past missteps and offer genuine, empathetic guidance. He realized that his wealth, once a source of insulation, could now be a bridge, connecting him to others in profound and meaningful ways. This engagement was a vital part of his own ongoing healing, transforming him from a distant figure to a truly empathetic leader. The physical space of the Montauk Beach House became a symbol of their transformation, a retreat from the demanding world where they could simply be. The floor-to-ceiling windows, which in Manhattan had showcased the sterile elegance of a museum-like penthouse, here offered panoramic views of the ocean, a constantly changing canvas reflecting the ebb and flow of life itself. Max and Emily often sat on the porch, watching the waves, their conversations flowing easily, punctuated by comfortable silences. These quiet moments were precious, untainted by the ghosts of the past or the pressures of the present. They were simply father and daughter, rebuilding their world, one shared sunrise and sunset at a time. The house, once just a vacation spot, became their true sanctuary, a place where Lisa's memory was cherished, not mourned, and where new, joyful memories were forged. Max, once consumed by the pursuit of more, now found profound satisfaction in less. His material desires had diminished, replaced by an insatiable hunger for meaningful connection and impact. He no longer felt the need to prove his worth through corporate victories or financial statements. His worth was now measured in the depth of Emily's smile, the strength of their bond, and the tangible good their foundation brought to the world. He had learned that true power lay not in control, but in surrender, not in accumulation, but in giving, not in isolating himself from vulnerability, but in embracing it. This profound shift in perspective was the ultimate triumph over the forces that had sought to destroy him, not through vengeance, but through a radical redefinition of success and happiness. His life, once a relentless ascent, had found its true peak in the quiet valley of purposeful living. Emily, too, flourished under this new dynamic. The guarded teenager, tempered by a sadness Max couldn't quite reach, transformed into a confident, compassionate young woman. Her straight-A student discipline and violin prodigy talent, once a source of quiet pressure, now fueled her philanthropic endeavors. She began mentoring younger children within the Foundation's programs, teaching them violin and using music as a channel for emotional expression. Her quiet strength became a gentle guiding force, her empathetic nature a comfort to those who looked up to her. Max watched her with immense pride, seeing not just Lisa's echoes, but Emily's own unique, brilliant light shining through. He recognized that in giving her space to grieve, to remember, and to contribute, he had empowered her to become the remarkable person she was always meant to be. Their journey was far from over. Grief was not a destination, but a companion, a shadow that sometimes walked beside them. But now it was a shadow they faced together, illuminated by the light of shared purpose and unwavering love. Max had learned that true strength wasn't about avoiding pain, but about enduring it, transforming it and ultimately finding meaning within it. The empire he had built with his hands was significant, but the legacy he was now creating with his heart, alongside his daughter, was immeasurable. It was a legacy of resilience, of empathy, and of the profound truth that even in the face of unspeakable tragedy, love, when nurtured and given space, can heal even the deepest wounds and build something even more beautiful from the ashes of what was lost. The quiet moments they shared, once so rare, became the most cherished aspects of their lives. A simple board game on a rainy afternoon, cooking dinner together in the Montauk kitchen, or simply sitting on the porch listening to the waves. These were the new cornerstones of Max's existence. He found joy in the mundane, a stark contrast to his previous life of constant high-stakes negotiations and relentless corporate expansion. Emily often teased him about his newfound domesticity, but her laughter was a genuine, open sound that filled the house with warmth. These small, everyday interactions, once overshadowed by the grand scale of his ambition, now held an intrinsic value that far surpassed any financial gain or corporate victory he had ever achieved. They were building a life, not just a future, and it was a life rooted in connection. Max also dedicated himself to learning more about Lisa's passions, beyond what he had known. He visited art galleries that she loved, read books she had cherished, and even attempted, with limited success, to learn some of the complex classical pieces she played on her violin. These were small acts, but each one was a bridge connecting him more deeply to her memory and to Emily, who delighted in sharing these aspects of her mother's life. It was a conscious effort to integrate Lisa into their present, to make her an active, loving presence in their daily lives, rather than a painful, distant memory. He understood that grieving was not about forgetting, but about remembering differently, transforming the ache of absence into a celebration of life and love. This deliberate act of remembrance brought a profound sense of peace. The foundation expanded rapidly, its impact reaching far beyond Max's initial expectations. The pilot programs for art and music therapy for grieving children proved incredibly successful, with therapists noting significant improvements in emotional expression and coping mechanisms. Emily, now an official board member, spearheaded many of these creative initiatives, her insights as a young person who had experienced profound loss proving invaluable. Max watched her lead meetings, her confidence growing with each passing day, and saw not just a reflection of Lisa, but a powerful, independent spirit emerging. His daughter was becoming her own person, shaped by her past but not defined by it, using her experiences to light the way for others. This was the true triumph, the ultimate legacy that transcended any corporate achievement. The board of Montgomery Enterprises, now transparent and ethical, flourished under its new leadership. Max maintained a respectful distance, offering guidance when sought, but allowing the new CEO to steer the company's direction. His former life, with its endless meetings and cutthroat competition, now felt like a distant dream, a chapter closed. He attended the occasional board meeting, more as a symbolic presence than an active participant, his focus firmly on the foundation. The change was stark, from the man who once lived and breathed corporate conquest to one who found his deepest purpose in quiet service. He had built an empire of technology, but he was now building an empire of compassion, and this new creation felt far more fulfilling, far more resonant with the man he had become. The Montauk Beach House became a hub of activity during the summers, hosting retreats for single-parent families from the foundation. Children played on the beach, their laughter echoing through the dunes while parents shared stories and found solidarity in their shared experiences. Max and Emily often joined these gatherings, offering comfort and connection, their presence a testament to the fact that even in the darkest of times, light can be found, and community can heal. These moments were a powerful reminder of how far they had come, from a silent, fractured family to a beacon of hope and support for others. The house, once a personal sanctuary, now embraced a larger purpose, embodying the spirit of Lisa's compassion and the foundation's mission. Max also began to write, something he had never considered before. He chronicled his journey, from the depths of his grief and the shock of betrayal to the slow, arduous path of healing and rediscovering purpose. He didn't seek publication or fame. It was a personal endeavor, a way to process his experiences and perhaps, in time, share his story with Emily as another form of his legacy. His writing was raw and unfiltered, reflecting the emotional turmoil he had endured and the profound lessons he had learned. It was another facet of his transformation, a testament to his newfound vulnerability and his commitment to authentic self-expression. He found a quiet catharsis in the act of putting his experiences on paper, organizing the chaos of his past into a coherent narrative of survival and triumph. Years passed, bringing subtle changes and deeper understanding. Emily graduated from high school, then college, pursuing a double major in music therapy and social justice. Her commitment to the foundation never wavered, and she began taking on more leadership roles, her vision complementing Max's strategic guidance. Their relationship evolved from parent and child to true partners in purpose, their individual strengths merging to create a powerful force for change. Max watched her grow into an extraordinary young woman, a testament to Lisa's spirit and her own remarkable resilience. He knew that the choices he had made, the painful revelations and the subsequent shift in his life's direction, had not only saved their relationship, but had allowed Emily to fully blossom into her compassionate and impactful self. The ache of Lisa's absence never fully disappeared, but it transformed. It became a quiet, constant presence, a reminder of the love that had shaped them, rather than a gaping wound. Max found solace in knowing that every life touched by the foundation, every smile brought to a grieving child, was a testament to Lisa's enduring spirit. Her legacy was not just in the memories they shared, but in the tangible good they created in her name. He would often find himself gazing at the framed photo of Lisa and a younger Emily in his study, no longer with a knot in his chest but with a gentle warmth, a quiet understanding of life's complex tapestry of joy and sorrow. The past was not forgotten, but it no longer held them captive. One late afternoon, as a gentle rain fell on the Montauk beach house, Max and Emily sat by the large windows, a comfortable silence settling between them. Emily held a new, fragile piece of music she was composing, her fingers tracing the notes. "You know, Dad," she began, her voice soft, "sometimes when I'm playing, I feel like Mom is right here, guiding my hands." Max smiled, a genuine, peaceful smile that reached his eyes. "I know, Em," he said, his voice husky with emotion. "I feel it too. She's not just a memory, is she? She's part of everything we do, everything we've become." It was a profound moment of shared understanding, a quiet acknowledgement of a spiritual connection that transcended physical presence. The tragedy had brought them unimaginable pain, but it had also forged an unbreakable bond and a lasting purpose. Max finally understood that the true measure of a man wasn't in the empires he built or the fortunes he accumulated, but in the depth of his character, the resilience of his spirit, and the love he cultivated. He was no longer defined by his past, by the betrayal or the grief, but by his present, a devoted father, a passionate philanthropist, and a man at peace with himself. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in soft hues of orange and purple, casting long shadows across the room, Max took Emily's hand. The waves crashed softly against the shore, a timeless lullaby. He was a father, and for the first time in years, that was not just enough. It was everything he had ever truly needed. The cost of his success had been steep, but the precious, unburdened time he had left with Emily was truly priceless. Their story became a quiet inspiration, a testament to the fact that even from the depths of despair, hope can be rebuilt, and purpose found. Max continued to lead the foundation, his silver hair a testament to the years of lessons learned, his eyes reflecting a wisdom gained through profound loss. Emily, now a respected figure in the non-profit world, carried Lisa's legacy forward with grace and determination. Their bond, forged in the crucible of shared pain and sealed by unwavering love, remained the bedrock of their lives, a quiet testament to the enduring power of family and the human spirit's capacity for healing, growth. They were not just survivors, they were thrivers, living proof that life, even after profound tragedy, can be rebuilt, filled with new meaning, and cherished anew.